Hello friends, it is that time again with that Erickson, and today we are continuing our Middle-earth Shadow of War mobile class review. Okay, we're going to be kicking it off today with the ever so popular tanks. Me growing up as a kid, I was a huge fan of tanks in pretty much everything. D&D, I always played, battle clerics or dwarf paladins. When I started moving on into EverQuest and games like that, I always loved the high armor classes. Played a paladin as a main in WoW. I'm pretty drawn to the knight upcoming in Crowfall as well. So tanks are very near and dear to my heart. So we are going to go and take a look at what tanks we have in the game as of today, November 2nd. Alright, we have the four tanks right now. We have Baranor, the Hammer of Sauron, Boromir, and Gimli. Unfortunately, I don't have the bottom two, and man, do I wish I had them because they are awesome, and they're definitely going to be worth it. I'm actually saving my crystals up for when Boromir drops. I really want to get him. But yeah, this is probably going to be the first time where I don't rate the guys I don't own higher because I really want these, and they're clearly very good tanks. So let's start off with the Hammer of Sauron, not because I don't know if he's better or worse than Baranor, but I just don't have a lot of experience playing with him yet. I have him at a decent level, and I can pump up his rings quick if I wanted to, but I just haven't. So he's your tank. He's in Mordor, Evil, Man, and Leader as his subclasses. And let's go ahead and jump in quickly to his skills. So his first skill is called Shattering Blow. It's going to deal some straight damage based on the level of the skill equal to the enemies in front of him, and then he stuns them for 2 seconds. Now that's awesome. Stuns are always super valuable. You're always going to want crowd control in any format of the game. It'll probably be even more important in PvP, but you can never go wrong with stuns, so I think that's a good activated ability. I have played with it a little, and it's a very thin line though. It's long, but it's thin. So be careful when you're aiming the ability because you don't want to miss, or you want to try to optimize everything. You might have to micromanage your unit around and line up the enemies to hit as many as possible. But when you correctly position it, it's really good. Mordor's Wrath. So the Hammer of Sauron will deal damage to an enemy and then knock them back. I'm not always the hugest fan of knockbacks, as people know. If you build it specifically around a knockback like type of team where you have dots or ranged damage, then it's not so bad because while they're running, you're getting free damage on them. And while they're coming back to you, you're getting free damage on them with the range. So I don't hate it, but it also feels like it's a little weird combination with his first skill, which is a straight line stun. So you knock your own guy back, and then you have to wait for him to come back and make sure you hit him. You don't want to do that wrong. And since you really can't time these so great, you're never going to know when the knockback's going to come. So, by mistake, you see the knockback, and maybe it knocks back at a weird angle or something, and your character moves, and then you try to use your ability and you miss. That could get a little ugly, so I haven't got to play with it enough to feel the impact of that. So if you have, let me know down in the comments below. We're going to move on to Retribution, and it's just a straight armor passive. Armor's good, can never go wrong. It's a passive. Always pretty easy on these third skills, these tier level 4 skills. And let's take a look at his ring level 7 skill, where he increases the attack of all Mordor allies. So that's pretty good. There's not a ton of Mordor allies, but there's sufficient enough to obviously make a Mordor team. It's pretty difficult to acquire a full Mordor team as of right now, just because the way the game is. It seems like in the early stages you just have much more access to good and man characters, not so much the Mordor side. They do currently have the bundle for Golem, which is pretty cool, but that's $50. That's up for you guys if that's something in your alley. I will not be buying Golem. Okay, so we're gonna keep going here. We're gonna be taking a look at Baranor next. He's the very early accessible tank that you get. That being said, he has a lot of great synergies with his categories of Man, Gondor, Free People, and Warrior, so he interacts well. He has a lot of synergy with a lot of the easy to farm early game champions. So he's going to be a pretty much staple for you going through the story. You're going to need a tank, especially for the harder stages. You can get by without it early, but sooner or later you don't want those big giant orcs or big giant creatures getting on your back line or getting on your squishies, and that's where Baranor comes in. Let's take a look at his skills now. Okay, so challenging shout, never go wrong with a little damage. Speaking of damage, he has Cleave, where he deals damage to enemies in front of him, and he's going to wound them for 5 seconds. Now, wounds, the target is dealt 5% of their max health in damage, and they have a 25% reduced movement speed. Now, that's always nice, especially if you need to kite in towards the end, like maybe sometimes Baranor's getting low, and you know you're hoping your DPS will finish him off. You can hopefully maybe get a couple shots in, wound, and then run Baranor around while the team finishes it off, just so you can get that last 3 stars. So that's always a good strategy. His third skill, his passive, tier 4 talent, is he gains 64 health, well, at this level, for every enemy near him, every 1 second. So the more people are around him, the more health he's gaining. So he's a lot of fun to position. His passive is unique in that positioning actually matters. That's a lot of fun. It feels like you're doing something when you play Baranor. He has a lot of synergy, a lot of utility. I don't feel like a lot of characters do that. I feel like their second and third, and even their talent is just on, and you don't care. All you care about is their ability. But in this case, you can feel the Cleave. You can use Cleave for strategy. You can use Master at Arms for positioning strategy. And so it's very cool. His final tier 7 is Chain of Command, and he will increase the armor of all leader allies around him, which is great. A lot of the typical supports and characters that you play right now, such as Castamir, they have this quality, and they also synergize well with him. So Castamir, Baranor is always, I've talked about this in my healing video, they always go pretty well together, and they're very early accessible. You can't start farming Baranor until later. He starts being farmable at 13-2 and 14-2, so a little higher up in the hard storyline. But Castamir is super easy. He starts right away. He's got hard 1, hard 4, and you can start getting some shards of him per day. Okay, now let us move on to the next. Let's move on to the big two, the big boys, Boromir and Gimli. Now, Boromir, to me, I don't know, I still haven't decided, but he has a lot more health than Gimli. At max level, he's at 91,585, so that's a lot of health. I think Gimli is in the 70,000s, the mid 70,000s, so he's bringing a lot of health to the table. He's got 1924 attack, 1183 ability power, armor, and ability defense. We'll just kind of remember these numbers. And let's take a look at his first skill, which is Horn of Gondor. Now, not a fan still of Terrifies, the running around. It really requires a build around to make sure that you're not wasting time when they're terrifying. It's a lot of micromanaging because you have to make sure it's, oh, do I want to chase them? Do I not want to chase them? Do I want to hold? Do I want to switch targets? There's a lot to think about in a very short span, in a very quick-paced game. Like, these matches, they don't go too long unless you're in the boss fight. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Terrify. I'm going to have to wait to see when I get him. But I do like his Shield Bash, which is his next ability. At max level, it does 4,264 damage to his current target and stuns them. Okay, we've discussed the importance of CC and stunning. Seems really strong. Last Stand, when Boromir falls below 30% of his max health, he immediately regains 14,400 health. So that is only used once per battle. So Last Stand is just like a Last Stand for warriors in WoW. You're going to get to a certain threshold of health. It's 90,000 without any runes or your ring levels. So I'm assuming with that you might get closer to 100,000. So let's just say you drop below 30k health. You're gonna heal yourself up for 14,400. That's it. That's a good chunk. It's a good emergency button. It's a good panic button. You can't control that, but That being said, it is a good amount, and it should feel, whenever it's going to actually trigger, it's always going to feel useful, right? Anytime you get that heal, you're like, oh, cool, I got a last stand. You know, it's your last ditch effort. It's your panic button. Finally, Captain of Gondor, Boromir gains 2,376 armor for each ally. That is a lot of armor, and there's a lot of good Gondor allies, as we have discussed. So, Boromir looks to be a very tanky guy. He's got the health, he's got the armor, he's got the CC, he's got the panic button. He has got it all. I'm really a big fan. He also has good subcategories with free people, warrior, Gondor, and men. But let's take a look at Gimli. I feel like these guys, in my opinion, are probably a toss-up until I can experiment with them. But Gimli, on the other hand, when maxed, he does not have as much armor. He does not have as much health. But Gimli is much more offensive, and that will be seen in his skills here. He only comes to the table with 3 class subcategories. He's free people, warrior, and dwarf, obviously. And his first skill is very cool. He gains 5,646 health over 3 seconds and removes all negative status effects from himself and increases his attack speed by 100% for 4 seconds. I feel like Gimli's going to be a lot of fun in PvP. He deals 5,610 damage to an enemy and taunts them for 2 seconds. And as we know, taunts mean they have to attack him. Friendly competition. Gimli gains 55 attack whenever an ally kills an enemy. Now that's pretty awesome, especially in these stages where a lot of those little dudes swarm out. You can pump up his attack really fast with that. So as the fights progress, Gimli's going to get more and more efficient at dealing damage. As I always say, you know, a good defense, a good offense is always good. So friendly competition is going to be really good for Gimli. He's going to progress throughout the battle, getting stronger. That is really going to be felt at the end and late. So friendly competition, Gimli gains 55 attack whenever an ally kills an enemy. That is a lot of fun, especially since you can have these stages where a lot of these little guys swarm out. Maybe you can have your team just mop up, and Gimli's just going to get enraged and get bigger. And as the fight progresses, he's just going to feel more and more brutal, which is good because he has a lower health pool than someone like Boromir, and he has less armor. Finally, he does gain a bunch of armor, a buttload of armor for each elf ally. So you can combine him with maybe Legolas and Eltariel. That might be fun. That's going to give him enough armor where he's on par with Boromir, but he's still lacking in the health department. He's got a good 22,000 less than Boromir in health. That's probably going to add up pretty quick. So it really depends on your team, what you've unlocked. You're going to be happy to get either of these tanks, Gimli or Boromir. I don't think you're going to be unhappy to see either of those two open up for you. So, that being said, guys, that'll do it for today. That is the tanks in Middle-earth Shadow of War Mobile. Let me know what you guys think about the tanks in the game right now, which ones you've been enjoying. Have you been lucky enough to get a Gimli? I don't even know if it's possible to get Boromir yet. But if you have, let me know. I'd love to hear how you've been enjoying him. And we will be doing a 24-hour live stream on November 4th for Extra Life. Be sure to check that out. I won't be playing Shadow of War, obviously, for 24 hours. But I'll be playing a lot of other games. Crowfall, which is my other main game on the channel. Anything else that people might think of, we'll throw something together. We can play whatever you guys want. I got PS4, I got the PC. So let me know down in the comments below what you want to see on the live stream, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, take care, friends.